Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sisters. Who is there with me? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are live. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله ثم الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى أهله وصحبه ومن. So we give thanks to Almighty Allah. May His mercy and blessings be upon Rasulullah, his household, his companions, and every righteous servant of Allah to the day of Qiyamah. Ameen. So today, inshallah, I'll be discussing hijab of the body and soul. Hijab of the body and soul. What is hijab? Hijab is frequently discussed. It's a frequently discussed topic in our community, and it's a practice that is dissected and opined over many different angles. Most times when we discuss the hijab, we forget, or do I say that our discussion is often devoid of any meaningful consideration of it as an act of ibadah or as an act of worship. There is also little reflection from us on the fundamental or foundational quality from which the hijab emanates, which is haya, modesty. Ibadah and haya, we'll say worship itself, which is ibadah, and haya, which is modesty, is the heart and the soul of the hijab. So we individually and sometimes as community, we often overlook these two things, which is the ibadah and the haya. We overlook it when it comes to hijab. Now let's look at the inward and outward meaning of hijab. Now, hijab, it's more than a means of personal identification, it's more than a means of cultural identification, it's more than a means of political statements. Hijab is what Islam has taught us. It is a spiritual act of ubudiyah. It is a spiritual act of worship. It is done out of our heart's desire, out of our heart's devotion, out of our heart's longing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and out of our heart's closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Azza wa Jal. Like so many acts of ibadah, hijab has both the inner and the outer garments. Now, the inward component is the state of our heart, the genuineness of seeking Allah's pleasure, the seeking Allah's rida, while the external component is the action of wearing the hijab itself. So hijab has two components. The inner component, which is what? The genuineness, the state of our heart, the genuineness of our heart, the state of our heart with our Lord to seek his pleasure. And the second one is the component of wearing the hijab itself, adorning the hijab itself. Now, what are the rulings? Just as Salat has rulings, just as Ramadan has rulings, just as Hajj has rulings, just as Iman itself has rulings, hijab itself has its own rulings under the guidance of Allah. It has its own certain rulings. But in this day and age, what we do as Muslims is that the external expression of spirituality, be it a religious practice or in general, or maybe let's say an exact conformity to this particular of fiqh, that is the wearing of hijab, we do not conform with it in our society, and we look less at the value or at the importance of wearing hijab. We look at it as if it's not that important, as if it's not. Sometimes people even look at it as if it's not part of Islam itself. In fact, people often scorn and dismiss it as if it is archaic, as if it is petty, as if wearing the hijab is trivial. as if it is something trivial. Let's all, however, note that hijab is sweet. Hijab is beautiful. Hijab is not petty. Even though people look at it as petty, as a cake, as whatever, in Islam, even that petty is very important. There is nothing petty in religion. Okay, people have called it petty, people have called it a cake, people have called it something trivial, but no, we as Muslims, even that petty thing that people call, that thing in our religion that people call petty, isn't petty. It is very important in our religion. That petty is very powerful. That hijab that people think as petty is something that is powerful. Is something that is the key to something we want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal. So the petty everybody refers to is not petty. It's something very powerful, something very, very powerful. So we don't look at it just the way everybody looks at it. We look at it from the view of it being powerful, the view of it being a key to something we need from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even if it means that we shun everybody, everything that makes it look petty, that makes it look archaic, then we have to. Because hijab is an act of spiritual traction. And it can move us into the realm of divine acceptance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal. Outward conformity, that is the way we look, our appearance of our religion is indispensable. And it is the first step to our spiritual development. We most times set our eyes on lofty and meaningful things, and we think, oh, subhanallah, I want to go on Hajj. You know, it's a lawful, beautiful view, and we all want to go on Hajj. Oh, mashallah, everybody will see you as an al-Hajj and whatever. But your hijab, you're not taking it so serious. You have decided to set your eyes on something so big, and you think that small thing doesn't matter. No, your hijab really matters. You're welcome, Sister Zainab Misbahuddin. So yeah, it really matters to you. It really matters as a core part of Islam. We don't have to fail wearing hijab and pass in all other things, because hijab is iman itself. Hijab is faith itself. If truly you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you would embrace hijab as it is. You would not only embrace hijab as the outer garment, but also an inner garment, which is the piety, which is haya itself. So when we talk about hijab, we're not just talking about wearing it. We are talking about both the outer hijab and the inner hijab. So most times we only look at hijab from a point of view of, oh, it's small thing, and we look at the bigger things. Oh, we want to go on Hajj, we want to perform Umrah, we want to we want to perform every other act, but we think hijab is minute. We fail to see the importance of the hijab and the important relationship between the body's discipline to Allah's sacred law, because it is Allah that has commanded us to wear the hijab. We fail to understand that when we wear the hijab, we are connected to Allah. We are connected to Him in a sacred way. Why? Because you are obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And our heart's ascendance to Him, Azza wa Jal. When you do something that pleases somebody, you will see the person smile at you, the person will be pleased with you. The same thing when we wear the hijab, Allah will be so pleased with you. And this is not about wearing the hijab that is not even in Sharia. This is about you striving. It's not easy, but about you striving to do that which is in the Sharia. And that is when you have really practiced the wearing of hijab. Trying to make sure that I am doing what Allah indeed commanded. I am doing what the Prophet ﷺ indeed commanded. Not that I'm trying to, I will try. Try to do what Allah in himself has indeed commanded. Try to be in conformity with the sacred laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal. A note to all of us. For many of us, our view of hijab must change. To me and to you listening, our view of hijab must change. It is not solely an act. It's not solely an act of personal expression. Oh, I want everybody to see me as wearing the hijab. Now that we have 4 gurus in Lasso, I must also wear my hijab, and then you start embracing the hijab. No, this is not about your personal expression. This is about you showing everybody that I'm a Muslim. It is not about that. It is about ubudiyya. It's about worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. It is about devotion, which must be an inact thing. It must be correct and in line with Islam. In order for us to attain our spiritual fruit. And what's our spiritual fruit? It's just having that, pleasure of Allah, gaining his pleasure, doing what is right and all of that. Now, moving to the haya part, the lost quality of haya. You see, while ubudiyya is the lost soul of hijab, I will say, and I will argue with anybody that says it, that it is the heart, the inner part, which gives it life. Haya is the inner part that gives that hijab life. You wear the hijab, it's just a thing. But when you have haya, it is the one that breathes life to the hijab you wear. So when you have your hijab on you, you must have a good character that follows pari passu. What does haya connote? I have a very long definition here, but from my own definition, I will say that haya connotes modesty, shyness, bashfulness, shame, and refraining from indecency or impropriety. But the definition I saw this morning gave me another insight to it. This definition states that haya refers to shrinking away of the soul from foul things. It says that haya implies a heightened awareness of Allah, so that one becomes conscious in one's deeds and one's words, and has increased sensitivity to acts that are shameful, indecent, or offensive to Allah, the angels, or others of his creation. MashaAllah. This has put everything together in one piece. That is, when you wear the hijab, like we said, modesty, you must be a modest person. You cannot be a hijabi and look like an agberu. You cannot be a hijabi and speak foul words. You cannot be an hijabi and be abusive. You cannot be an hijabi and have no shame, because hijab itself is modesty. You cannot be an hijabi and do whatever you like, and then you can just enter anywhere. You can just wear your hijab and say, I can go to the club. Maybe it's just the club. I'm not going there to block, but I just want to, your hijab has to make you bashful, make you modest, make you shy to do some particular things, not because of anything, but because you respect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You follow Allah's commandment. You follow Allah. It's worship, it's ubudiyah. It is ibadah, it is worship. It is devotion. Your hijab will make you see things that you really want to do, but you dare not do it. Why? Because you know that you are worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you really are Allah's ibad, if you really are Allah's servant, Allah's sincere servant, then your hijab should be a control measure for you. When you have that hijab on your head, you respect it. You respect Allah through it. You respect the Prophet through it. You respect Islam through your hijab. And you walk in conformity with what your hijab preaches. The Prophet ﷺ, he praised haya so much. The Prophet ﷺ was somebody who was bashful, somebody who had haya, he is one person who is encapsulated. When they talk about haya, talk about the Prophet ﷺ. There was a time that the Prophet ﷺ, he had a man rebuking his brother and telling him that he had too much haya. The Prophet says, no. Don't tell him to stop that. Leave him. For modesty comes from what? Comes from disbelief. So haya comes from belief. Haya comes from what you believe in. Haya comes from your belief. Modesty comes from your belief. So the Prophet ﷺ, he told this man to leave his brother. Don't tell him that he has too much haya. You don't tell somebody, Oju matiman si eju, mama tijumo. No. Let them continue to be shy because it's part of Iman. It comes from Iman. Haya comes from Iman. So the Prophet ﷺ told the man, and so he said, leave him. For modesty comes from Iman. And this is the hadith of Imam al-Bukhari. Now, in our times, we have regarded hijab as a headscarf that serves as maybe, let's say, do I say a badge? A badge to our own, to our identity. We see it as a badge and removed it from the large understanding of haya. So we have seen it only as, oh, my hijab is my badge. So when I go now, they know that I'm a Muslim. Especially now that the Muslims are the one in the news. Oh, mashallah. We have the Lasso sisters with the AAA, with the big GPs, the one with 5.0. And then we also want to be like, I'm also an hijabi. So wherever I go, I'm also a hijabi. So wherever I go, I must show. This hijab is not about, it's not a badge. It's not like one badge that, you know, to have your selfish interest. The hijab is something that we should take care of. Whether somebody is looking at us or not, we should take care of it. Both the inner and the outer hijab. Now, the trend of this hijab and hijabi fashion in particular, it has in many ways effectively divorced haya from hijab itself. The way people are trending with, oh, the hijabi, it has divorced haya. That is, it has divorced modesty from hijab itself. You will now not understand why a woman will be on hijab and not have haya. You can be on hijab and have all of the layers of makeup on your face. Hasn't it divorced haya from hijab? That you see somebody wearing the jilbab and does not have shame to enter a bar. Somebody wearing the hijab and, you know, a lot of things that goes around this. There are lots of things that we are not supposed to be doing with our hijab on. But, you know, the trend of everybody can wear the hijab. You win somebody that is not praying that wears the hijab. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to guide all of us, because none of us is up there. We are all fluctuating. Our iman goes up and down. Yeah, al-iman yazid wa yankus. It goes up and it comes down. But we should not go too deep down that we lose shame when we wear the hijab. We shouldn't lose shame. We shouldn't be shameless. We should be people of shame. We should be people of bashfulness. We should be people that are shy. The hijab fashion trend has also taken strides to changing a whole lot of things. It has taken strides to changing spirituality, unhealthy cultural norms, and to even recast definitions of beauty and a woman's worth. That is why you see somebody on jilbab putting on layers of makeup, somebody on hijab having long painted nails, somebody on hijab doing a whole lot of things, somebody on hijab putting bling on hijabs. And that's what this hijabi trend has. It has reduced our hijab and it has taken off haya from the hijab we wear. So when you wear your hijab, look at yourself and think deeply. How do I look? What do I look like? Do I really conform with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants? Am I wearing this hijab to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or I'm wearing to please myself and people in the world? Am I only trying to please people, not Allah? Like we said before, hijab is ibadah, ubudiyya, devotion to Allah, worship. So instead, in many cases, it has simply put how do I call it? It has simply put the headscarf on mainstream. It has put the headscarf on mainstream. Do I say mainstream fashion? With all of its failings, including extreme narrow and exploitative views of beauty and sexuality. And people will say, oh, that sister, mashallah, undoni, she blink, 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 blink. And everybody was, that sister, oh, mashallah. Look at her eyes. You see sisters in niqab with long eyelashes. Long eyelashes, subhanallah. And funnily, these days when we try to call people to order, you would hear them bringing you on social media and trying to tell you that what are you telling us? Are you better than us? It is I and my Lord. But before you say it's between you and your Lord, you need to have shame. In sincerity, nobody, like I said, al-iman yazidu wa yanqus. Nobody is exempted from falling. Every one of us. Somebody you are seeing behind the screen and you are thinking the person is all there. If you hear the backstory of the person, you might not like it. But reality is that when we bring it, we shouldn't bring our shamelessness to public. Being a Muslim, like I said, being a Muslim would make you cop a whole lot of things. You won't come online and say, I don't care what anybody says. A Muslim is somebody that cares what people say, especially when it comes to your religion. A Muslim is somebody that trends with caution. A Muslim is somebody that looks well before leaping. A Muslim is somebody that walks with modesty, not somebody that walks around in arrogance, not somebody that walks around and think whatever anybody thinks is what anybody thinks. You think, is Allah pleased with my act? Is Allah pleased with the hijab I'm wearing? Is this what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants me to wear? Because of the day when we go into that grave, when we'll be alone and there will be no excuse. Allah will not hear no excuse from us. Oh, it's because I do not have that iman. It's because my iman is so small. It's because, no. Allah won't hear it. We need to make sure that our hijab and our iman walk pari passu. I would say, in conclusion, that the soul of hijab is a sense of Allah. The soul of hijab. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, Farida. You're welcome. The soul of hijab is a sense of Allah. You have to sense Allah in all your acts. It's a sense of Allah's consciousness. It's a sense of Allah's awareness. It's a sense of Allah's devotion. It's a sense of Allah's love. I will say it again. The heart and soul of hijab is a sense of Allah's consciousness, awareness, devotion, love of Him, and interacting with others. And when you want to interact with others humbly, you must have that humble act. And that is what we call the inner hijab. You must be an humble person. You must be humble in attitude, in word, and in modesty. You don't want to wear the hijab and turn everybody's heads around. You want to wear the hijab and make Allah be pleased with you. You want to wear the hijab and make the angels pray for you. You want to wear the hijab and please Allah over and over and over again. You must be conscious of Allah when we wear the hijab. Both myself and you, because at some points we want to, we want to go down there, but something takes us back. And what is that? It's a ballast. People around us will tell us, oh, this one that you are going now, yeah, I don't think is the right place. And then we sit down and we think, oh yeah, I think I'm going down somewhere. So the hijab itself, it refines our manners. The hijab, it refines our manners and make us fit in the right places. It makes us fit as a seeker of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Somebody seeking His pleasure, somebody seeking His love, somebody seeking His acceptance. So hijab is a sense of knowing that Allah is there. It's a sense of devotion to Him. We must reaffirm over and over again the link between our spiritual states and deference to the guidelines and rules of our religion. And we need to reconnect what we wear to our faith. Like, again, we need to reconnect what we wear to our faith. Look at yourself right now. What you're wearing if you're outside, or what you wear if you're going outside, does it connect with your religion as a Muslimah? Does your hijab conform with the rulings of Allah? If you die today, what will be your excuse to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal? If you're not dressing right today, what will you tell Allah when you meet him? Oh Allah, it's because I do not have money to buy material. Oh Allah, it's because of the friends I have. Oh Allah, it's because I just don't think it was right time for me to wear the hijab. Will Allah hear that excuse? Allah won't hear it. On the day where you will want to go back to complete that prayer, and Allah will not allow you. On the day when you will want to go back to pay the debt that you owe, and you will not be allowed. On the day that you wish you did more, but there won't be time for you to do that. On the day when everybody, your parents, your children, everybody will not be there. You will be the only one there to answer that question. Somebody who is telling you, oh, don't mind that sister that is preaching hijab to you. They are just fanatics. That person will see you and run to this house while you are at the north. At that time, when people will not be there for you, you'll be the only one standing. What will be your excuse for not wearing the hijab? What will be your excuse for being that hijabi in fashion? What will be your excuse for not wearing the correct hijab, even if it is just little? What will be your excuse for not dressing modestly? What will be your excuse of wearing the hijab and having no manners? What will be my own excuse to Allah on that day if I am behind closed doors and doing nothing but disconnecting with Allah? So we need to be very conscious. Hijab is not about the outer appearance alone. You will see people in hijab, in niqab, with the worst of character. Why are you a Muslim when you do not have the character? Yes, we cannot be complete people. We cannot be the best of people out there, but we can be the best of what we can be. Even if our iman goes up and down, we can still try and strive to be modest with our hijab, try to be shy with our hijab, if in every way. Like I said, it won't be right if we see somebody wearing the hijab, being a thug or a trance. They will tell the person, you know how Nigerians are now, they will tell you, your jab jab. That's what Nigerians will even tell you, that let us know we are not wearing the hijab. Bring out this, just remove this thing and let us know what is going on. So money iwa lesson anyway. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us proper understanding of Islam and its teachings. May He perfect our manners, our actions, our dress in a way that reflects the beautiful quality of haya. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal that He adore us with the beauty of faith and the mantle of taqwa, and may He help us be people who wear hijab, honoring the heart, soul and spirit of Islam, inshallah. Aqulu qawli hadha astaghfirullah ali wa lakum. I hope that you gained something from today's episode on the hijab, the inside, the body and the soul, the hijab of the body and the soul. I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us all goodness in this very month. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our dua, accept the little we do as an ibadah, and to make it easy for us to improve in our acts of worship, both physically and spiritually. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for joining. See you next time, inshallah. Ameen wa antum fa jazakumullah khairan, ma'am. Ameen. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming live. I really and sincerely appreciate. See you on another episode, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum wa fina ajma'in.